Hey all, Desu here, bringing you Neverwinter today. Neverwinter is by Cryptic Studios, and they previously have made titles such as Star Trek Online, Champions Online, I think, and City of Heroes and the City of Villains. So they've had quite a good MMO history. They're not the best games ever, but they're definitely solid and have a good fan base. And with this IP, who can do any wrong? I mean, Dungeons and Dragons and mages and orcs and stuff. How can it go wrong? How can it go wrong, right? It's got to be pretty good. So fingers crossed for an awesome game. So let me first introduce the character creation screen. I'm just going to show you a little brief outlook on the characters and classes and stuff, just so you can get a grasp of it. Recently went into open beta, yesterday actually, on the 1st of May. And currently they only have 3 servers. It's global, which is maybe a bit worrying for some people because you may experience lag. I'm in the UK and I believe the servers are in America. So that might be a bit of an issue for some people. But it's been relatively okay for me. Not any sort of terrible lag. But it's still early days, I guess, so we'll see in the next week or so. Right, so you've got your half-orc human, dwarf, your elf, half-elf, tiefling, halfling, and coming soon, whatever that race is. Looks like a shady guy in a dark cloak. Trying to think what it could actually be. Drow, I suppose, could be the Drow. Maybe you get to play as one of the weird monster races. Who knows? Oh, a gnome. Could be a gnome. People love gnomes, right? But, I don't know. Who knows? There's going to be many more classes to come, I'm sure. So, let's just first click on one of these. Let's go for the tiefling. Oh, you're going to have to look at the female ones if you briefly want to. There's actually not much difference between the females and the males, to be honest. It's they're just thinner and faces are a little bit easier to look at, I suppose. Anyway, tiefling. Alright, so classes are rogue. That rogue is fabulous. Look at that gear. A cleric. Now notice that these are actually like trickster rogues, devoted cleric, control wizard, not just standard basic class. I think it's because they've specifically customized the character in a certain way so that you don't have as much freedom, but it's sort of specialized to being played a certain way, I suppose. But we'll get into that a bit later on. So wizard got balls. He's got balls. Well, one ball. I think he's giving me the finger. Great weapon fighter, which is just a general two-handed guy. Guardian fighter, which is your standard paladin, sword and shield type fellow. And another coming soon. Maybe an archer or something. Hunter, maybe? Can't think of what else that could be actually. Berserker. Some sort of engineer, alchemist, I don't know. I'm just pulling things out of nowhere, really. And then you just kind of roll your score. And there's a lot of customization options, which we won't go into. But I mean, you basically pick a preset. And you can just go in and edit all manner of things. It's not hugely detailed, but it's you know, it's one of the better ones. If you played any of the Champions, City of Heroes games, you'll know that the customization is quite in depth. You can customize the body to a great extent, but not so much the clothes yet. But I assume it's because your armor changes all the time. It wouldn't be worthwhile customizing any sort of armor. Whereas in a sort of superhero game, that's kind of your thing, you know, you want a definitive, customizable suit. So, you know, that's obviously not here, but everything else is pretty in-depth. I mean, you can change the bulk of your arms, and the armor length even, wow. Anyway, that's the character creation screen. I'm going to drop into my character, show you a bit more gameplay and such. So, see you in a sec. And here we are. Oh, I'm just casually being murdered by some Nasher gangsters. What do you call them? Nasher rebels, that's what they're called. Nasher rebels. Let's just show off my cleric. I have a level 10 Cleric. I've only been playing a little bit, but I think I've gotten enough of a grasp of the story to show you what's going on here. Well, not story, the basics. That's what I meant to say. Just pray at the old statue there to get a little buff. Right, I'm going to show you a little dungeon area as part of a story. Slight spoilers, if you are worried about stuff like that, you can ignore the story element of it. The HUD is a bit overpowering at the moment, but I do have it set on a smaller resolution than usual, so... Right, so essentially, you point at the enemy and you shoot. There's no sort of free aiming in the sense that you can just cast wherever you want. You can only cast when you're shooting directly at the enemy. Which might be annoying to some people. Maybe some people prefer it to be completely free attacking, like you can freely just attack whatever you want. Like Vindictus, for example. Or this is more like Guild Wars, I suppose, in the sense that you have to actually target something for your skills to actually activate. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means that it feels like there's less control over your character. Somewhat. The interesting about the Cleric is that pretty much all of his moves heal yourself, which may be a bit overpowered, I don't know. Although you can see my health is going down, so... And I am slightly overpowered for this. I mean, you know, over-leveled, in the sense that I've been sort of grinding a little inadvertently, but that was just to sort of scope out the areas. Not necessarily having to grind for anything. You can quite easily just solo most of this. So, I mean, you'll be looking at the bottom and you'll be like, why is the skill bar so tiny? Usually you have about 5 skills, right? I was running the exact same thing. So I don't know what that's all about right now. I assume maybe later on you unlock even more. So, because thus far I've only got Sunburst. So, you know, 3 abilities there. This is my mouse. And then there's 1 ability here and 1 to unlock. If you press tab, it kind of unleashes a sort of rage mode thing, which is building up here, as you can see, in the this little thing on the side. So I'm not too sure what's going on there, but yeah. This is an instance, so you won't be seeing any other players unless you've specifically invited them. Can I remove this? Let's get rid of that. How does the Cleric play so far? He's pretty offensive, really. I'll show you the, you know, offensive in the good way, not in the bad way. Only bad for the enemies, but... Ooh, dropped some nice loot there. Oh. Potion. One thing I do like is that you can walk over the money and pick it up, rather than having to actually click on the money. That's a really annoying thing. Right, so the story essentially starts off with Neverwinter being attacked. Neverwinter being one of the main cities in this world. Faerun, I believe it's called. I'm a big fan of the Baldur's Gate Neverwinter Nights games, so I've played the crap out of those. And I was kind of hoping that this would kind of expand a bit more on it. And, well, I wasn't entirely disappointed because this is obviously an MMO, so you can't expect it to have too much of a big story element without flushing a load of money into it. Old Republic. But, yeah, it's kind of it does give you little lore bits, and you can freely read the lore on your own if you so wish. I'll just quickly show you here while I'm being attacked. There it is. So there is lore in the game that you can read in your sort of own time, but there's not so much a focus on the story. So there aren't epic long conversations, and while you do have the option of picking conversational choices, it doesn't really lead anywhere as far as I'm aware. They are basically just to expand on the story and the lore that you have so far. And yeah, let's have a look at another element of the game. Another element of the game are these little collection points. If you've played Guild Wars, then you'll be familiar with these gather points, or even World of Warcraft, of course, these gather points. They require you to have specific tools to be able to gather from them, but I believe each class can freely gather from a certain point, a type of point. So, because I'm Cleric, I can gather from religion points, which give you specific sort of crafting items, other such things like that, and which I'll show you in a second. I can't activate that one because it's a nature one. I'm not too sure which class has that one or which race has that, but they will be able to freely gather from those points without expending any of their tools. Hey, Hexaman, chill out. Nasha is one of the first lords of Winterfell, kings of Winterfell. Winterfell? Neverwinter. Of Neverwinter. So it's quite interesting. I can't rightly remember the story of Neverwinter Nights, but I believe that they had Nasha in there somewhere, right? Was he the king that was murdered? I can't remember. He was ill, wasn't he, or something, and we were trying to cure him. But it's been that long since I played Neverwinter Nights, I just would not be able to tell you at all. Oh, here's the boss. This dude is the leader of the Nashes, and we're gonna kick his butt, because that's what clerics do, kick butt. They're not coming over, so I can show you this point maybe. As you can see, this is a religion collection point, which normally you would need a religion kit to collect from, but I can collect from it freely because I'm a cleric. Perks of being a holy man. Right, let's take on these guys. You'll also have noticed on the ground there's a lot of the old trail of gold thing that Fable kind of made a bit more sort of mainstream. It's definitely useful, I would say, in the game itself, because it gets a bit hectic sometimes in some of the sort of big crazy maps, and you want to be able to see exactly where you're going without having to look at your cluttered mini-map all the time. That's one of the problems I find with MMOs. Sometimes you find yourself staring at the mini-map a bit too often. So having that there is actually quite useful, I would say. Definitely draws your attention to the action, to the main screen, rather than having to deal with... Oh, he's having a jolly good time there, isn't he? Oh, wow. Wow. This guy. Chill out, Nasha. Nasho. Karzov. Looks kind of like Zangief. Jeez. So he quickly wasn't making enough money on the Street Fighter circuit, so he's hopped over into Faerun to ruin my life. Drink potion there. I don't want to die. That would be embarrassing. Finish off these guys. There we go. Karzov's dead. Sorry, Karzov. It was you or me. It wasn't going to be me. Not today. Not today, Karzov. Alright, so we'll just finish up the quest. And then at the end of every dungeon, you of course get a prize. Symbol of Hope. Isn't that lovely? That's a little weapon for me. It's kind of weird. I don't understand the cleric weapon really. It looks like a mirror, and then it's got this little dangly bit on it. It's an ornate mirror of some sort. I mean, if you can see it there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Dangly little mirror thing. What's the deal with that? I guess it's meant to be a mace, but it's kind of flat, so I don't know, maybe someone can enlighten me to this. I have no idea about the lore to this sort of detail anyway. But yep, there we go. We've completed a dungeon. And here's sort of the, well, one of the overworlds, I guess. Oh, here I am getting attacked again. Right, so let's hand in this quest and then I'll show you some of the main town maybe. Jeez guys, can you not just leave me alone for a bit? So, while waiting to queue for a dungeon, I'm just gonna chill out in the inn, have a beer, enjoy the fire, and we'll look at the character profile screen. So you've got your standard inventory screen. Ooh, you can do a little dance. And you've got your sort of formal and normal gear, which is quite common for these types of games, really, to have a costume set and a normal set. And here's the interesting bit, the powers. So these are all your basic skills that you should have. Dodge. This allows me to open religious skill box things, basically religious chests. And these are the racial abilities that you have as a human. And this one is specific to the class. So these are the ones you start off with: Astral Heal, Lance of Faith, Sunburst, and you can just upgrade these as you go along until level 10, whereby you get a fancy Channel Divinity, ooh, which is basically a rage mode, and essentially it allows you to change up the attacks that you can make, and they just become generally more powerful. Hopefully I'll be able to show you that during the little dungeon bit that we'll be doing. Well, little event. It's more of an event than a dungeon because it's quite small. And then later on you get all manner of fancy powers, which will be explored a lot later on, I suspect, in a later video. And then you have feats, which, as the MMO elites among you will know, it's kind of it kind of mixes up the way your character works. For example, if you want to be more of a healer, then you probably want this one. Your wisdom grants more healing, so that's more of a support path that you want to go down. Otherwise you have this one, which is more of a solo one, or this one, which is more of a survivalist thing, I suppose. And there are also companions, which I've not dealt with. Anyway, we're queued up to go into this event now, so I'll show you the event. Black Lake Terror. So in this segment of the story, essentially all we have to do is defend this point from zombie attack. So think of it as a horde mode, I guess. Just a mini quest. You essentially just party up with a bunch of people and you fight a bunch of zombies. It's a little bit fun. It's not the epic dungeon, which you'll get quite a bit later on. I believe it's level 16 or something, so I'll be doing a video on that. But at the moment, this is what you get at level 6 or 7, and it's just a bit of fun. You can make your own party or matchmake. Obviously be aware that when you matchmake, you'll have to deal with people robbing your stuff, or deliberately rolling need instead of greed for items that they don't actually require. But one of the downsides to having to party with other people, right? I mean, you know, random people. So, obviously, being a nice guy, I will just roll greed, because I am a greedy guy. Nice guy, but a greedy guy. And as usual, I do not win the item. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. The way the RPG dice rolls. And oh, there's a little bit of a different zombie, giant Hulk enemy. You know, Hulk was in this game. How did they get the rights to that guy? And yeah, I'll save my ultimate special fancy thing for when we actually encounter the actual boss of this event. It's nothing spectacular, so don't get your hopes up, but it's quite special, a little bit special. Come on, zombies. Bring it on. What you got? What you got for the... I don't know, what's our name? Let's call ourselves the Super Crew. Super awesome adventuring team. No, it's got some ice in my face, so clearly that's a no-go with that name. The combat is pretty smooth, I would say. There's no sort of lag between attacks, and it feels almost like an action game. Almost. Right, here we go. Last group of zombies before the big bass boss comes in. Big bass boss comes over and murders all of us. Except he's not, because we're all over level 8. Yeah, we're quite clearly going to win. Get out of here, Hulk. Blue Hulk. You're not even the right colour. Alright. Another belt. Let's deal with all these belts. Here comes the boss. Chosen of Guanalanader. Looks like a happy chap. Probably a friendly guy. Let's negotiate. Hey guy. You're a reasonable fellow, right? So, as you can see, it's kind of made my attacks a bit stronger. I now shoot a laser instead of your standard lance bolts that I was firing before. So it basically just makes sure our attack's a bit fancier. I'm not too sure about the other classes, but that is what it does for me. Come on, Priesty. Time to give up the ghost. Turn from your life of evil, crime, and become a friendly ghost like Casper. Pick a leaf out of his book. Great kid. Shame about the child abuse. Child abuse? Yeah. Casper was a neglected child. It's, you know, why he's a ghost. And, you know, you get your little stats after you've killed the boss. Naturally, I heal the most because I am the healer, right? Oh wait, I wasn't the only healer. Oh wow, I got beaten by the other healer. That's a healer, right? What is he? He's Cleric. Well, excuse me. And then you get a little chest at the end of it. There's a little reward, which is nice. If the people would get out of the way so I can actually get into it. A little bit of silver for your trouble, as a thank you for killing zombie hordes. And yep, that's the end of that then. Right, so in the next episode I'll show you a bit more of the custom content and maybe a PvP match, even though they're not super interesting, because, I mean, you know, it's just people. It's what you'd expect, really. There's nothing too fancy about it, but we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, that's it from me today. Hope you've enjoyed a little brief look into Neverwinter, and maybe you'll give it a go yourself. It's open beta, so go ahead and download it. It's only 3.8 gigabyte, I believe, so it's not too big, even though there's a bit of voice work. So yeah, check it out. It's open beta. This is Desu from Lonely Munch House signing out.